Welcome to another video production from Slater Dozier Railroad Media. This video contains an assortment of trains that I have filmed across upstate South Carolina from late April to early June. We begin this video on April 23, 2023 in the afternoon. I was originally waiting on NS 153 to get a crew and head south, but since NS 243 was getting ready to leave Greenville at the same time I was, I decided to go after it. I would follow the train all the way to Westminster, South Carolina, where the Wayside Help Desk would tell 243's crew to stop to fix a sticking brake on one of the cars. 243 would be powered by a duo of Tier 4 GEVOs from Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern respectively. As the sun began to set, I gave up waiting on NS 153 and went to it instead. Newly rebuilt C44 ACM UP 6919 was on the point of this tied down NS 153 at Control Point Crosswell. Although it wasn't moving, engines like this are only new once, so I was glad to get it on the point of this train. I would get trackside again on the afternoon of April 28, 2023 in Taylor, South Carolina for a couple of good trains, the first being NS-17E, an auto rack train from BNSF bound for the BMW plant in Greer, South Carolina. Trailing second was BNSF 775, a -9 purchased immediately after the BN-ATSF merger that bears the Warbonnet paint scheme. After 17E cleared the main in Greer, the NS Charlotte dispatcher gave local NS E08 clearance to head north. NS 8102, the Pennsylvania Heritage Unit, was leading this train, and not long after this video was taken, it would power trains from the inland port in Greer, South Carolina to the port of Charleston, South Carolina. Soon after E08 cleared, I would move down the tracks to a different spot to get in position for CSXL 799, a local that is based out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, and turns back to Spartanburg at Greenville, South Carolina. This train would have a pair of DC GEVOs for power. I would be back in Taylor's the next morning for a few good trains in the area. NS28R would come first with SD70 ACC NS1851 leading the way. Next up would be NS243 with an SD70 ACE leading an AC GEVO. I would get my next train an hour and a half later at the Taylor's S-curve. NS242 would come north with SD70M UP4528 leading the way. Older engines from foreign railroads such as UP4528 are always a welcome sight to see to break the monotony of the newer wide-cab GEs and EMDs that have become a regular sight on all Class 1 railroads. On the way to an event on May 13th, I would be surprised by CSXL 654 at Aura Siding. I would make it to the south end of the siding just in time to catch this local from Spartanburg, South Carolina on the way to Lawrence, South Carolina, where it would turn north and go back to Spartanburg. On May 27th, I would catch NS-28R at Delano Park in downtown Greenville, South Carolina with an SD70 IAC leader on the point and UP power trailing and pushing on the rear of the train. A couple of hours later, NS-283 would roll through central South Carolina with a colorful lash-up of NS, CP, and BNSF power in that order. This was my first time catching Canadian Pacific Power after the CPKC merger.
If you want to be a little tender, it's going to get to Courtney and let you know they're going to back up so you can come keep it rolling. Back up on the 2 side at Westminster. Can I get your permission? Are you open to just... Yeah. Takes a little longer for that time to release up there, about 12 minutes over. Alright, I'll let you know when you release, just space it out, and as soon as it clears, we get your rolling over. Alright, thank you. That's that.
The next evening, empty grain train NS-51R would roll through Easley, South Carolina with CN-3959, a former City Rail ES-44AC, sandwiched between 2 NS-9s. Even though it was patched for CN, this was a refreshing catch since it had been years since I last laid eyes on the City Rail paint scheme. On the afternoon of May 29th, I would make a brief stop in Spartanburg after a long day of driving. While stopped, I would catch NS 296 with a friendly engineer at the throttle. On May 30th, I would be back in Taylor, South Carolina for the afternoon. I would have just enough time to get CSX L799 crossing the Inori River Trestle in Taylor's on the CSX Belton sub. Later on Norfolk Southern, NS 154 would roll through Taylor's with NS 8100, the Nickel Plate Road Heritage Unit, leading the train equipped with a P5 horn.
"154 clear, Taylor's 2-1. Norfolk Southern, milepost 475.8, no defects.
A surprise would come after NS 154 in the form of both sets of Lorem rail grinders making their way towards Spartanburg.
on the main line.
I would wake up early on the morning of June 2nd knowing some good trains would be running. The first train of the morning would be Amtrak 19, the southbound Crescent, with the usual two P42 DCs leading the way.
Let's drag one.
NS27A would roll through Taylor's after the sun came up, with two NS Gevos up front and mid-train DPUs of C45AH UP2704 and AC44C6M NS4522. NS153 would come through about 30 minutes later with an impressive lash-up, consisting of CM44AC CSXT 7218, leading C45AC CTE UP7743, and 4 other NS motors. NSP78 would come north through Taylor shortly after 153. I was hoping that P78 would have SD40-2s for power, but I would be surprised to see Grey Ghost AC4400CW, KCSM 4527, and Southern Bell SD70ACE, KCS 4144, trailing behind AC44C6M and S4305. Hotshot Intermodal Train NS24X would fly through Taylor's later that morning with SD70MAC WFRX 8915 trailing older -9 NS9543. At the time of this video, Norfolk Southern had acquired 30 former BNSF SD70MACs from Wells Fargo Leasing to use for extra horsepower across the NS rail network. Since these engines are not equipped with positive train control, they will only trail on NS trains. This was my first time catching one of these WFRX units in Norfolk Southern's new Leaser era. My final train of the morning would be southbound intermodal train NS283. Executive SD70MAC BNSF 9764 would be third in this lash-up of BNSF power.
Norfolk Southern, milepost 475.0.